Maybe you know. Science meets the questions you never thought to ask. In 1797, a British admiral named Horatio Nelson stood on the deck of the HMS Theseus. A musket ball had just shattered his right arm. Surgeons amputated it that night by candlelight with a saw. Weeks later, Nelson made a strange claim. He could still feel his fingers. He could feel them clench. He told his chaplain this was direct proof of the soul, because if the limb was gone but the sensation remained, something must exist beyond the flesh. He was wrong, but the truth is stranger. For most of human history, phantom limbs were treated as madness or miracle. A French military surgeon named Ambroise Paré wrote about them in 1551. Soldiers swearing their amputated legs still itched, still ached, still moved. Doctors didn't know what to do with this, so they ignored it, or they explained it away as nerves twitching, or imagination, or grief. Then came the American Civil War. Between 1861 and 1865, around 60,000 soldiers had limbs amputated. 60,000. Field surgeons saw the same impossible thing over and over. A man would wake up after surgery, look down at the empty space below his shoulder, and try to scratch his missing palm. In 1871, a Philadelphia neurologist named Silas Mitchell published the first serious study. He coined the term we still use today, phantom limb. He interviewed dozens of veterans. Their phantoms moved. Their phantoms hurt. Their phantoms grew cold in winter. Mitchell called a haunting. He didn't have a mechanism, only a name. For the next 100 years, no one did. Then in the early 1990s, a neuroscientist in San Diego touched a man's face and discovered something that broke neuroscience open. His name was Vilianer Ramachandran. Everyone called him Rama. In 1991, at the University of California, San Diego, a 17-year-old patient walked into his lab. We'll call him Tom. A year earlier, Tom had lost his left arm in a car crash on a freeway just outside Los Angeles. The arm was gone above the elbow, but Tom still felt it, the fingers, the wrist, the elbow joint. Ramachandran sat Tom in a chair, blindfolded him, and started touching different parts of his body with a Q-tip. Cheek, shoulder, chin. He asked Tom what he felt. When Ramachandran touched Tom's left cheek, Tom said something impossible. "You're touching my left thumb." Ramachandran moved the Q-tip a centimeter. Tom said, "Now my index finger." Another centimeter. "My pinky." On Tom's face, Ramachandran had found a complete, point-by-point map of Tom's missing hand. Touching the upper lip lit up the thumb. Touching the jaw lit up the wrist. The hand was gone, but the map was still there, and it had migrated. Onto Tom's face. To explain why, you have to understand the strangest map in your body. It's not on your skin. It's on the surface of your brain. In the 1940s, a Canadian neurosurgeon named Wilder Penfield was operating on epilepsy patients in Montreal. To find seizure zones, he stimulated the brain directly with tiny electrodes while patients were awake. The brain has no pain receptors, so this is fine. It's also nightmare fuel. When Penfield zapped a strip running over the top of the head, patients reported sensations in specific body parts. Lips, teeth, hand, foot. Penfield mapped this strip neuron by neuron. He drew it. The result is called the cortical homunculus, and it looks like a deformed cartoon. The hands are huge. The lips are huge. The torso and legs are tiny, because brain real estate isn't allocated by body size. It's allocated by sensitivity. Your fingers have hundreds of times more neurons devoted to them than your back. Now here's the part that matters. On the homunculus, the area for the hand sits directly next to, guess what, the area for the face. They're neighbors on the cortex. When Tom lost his hand, the neurons that used to receive signals from it sat there, silent, unemployed. So they didn't stay silent. The face neurons next door reached over and colonized them. His brain had remapped itself. And here's where it gets stranger. You might assume phantom limbs are a kind of memory, that the brain remembers a hand it once had, and the ghost is just the echo. That sounds reasonable. It's also wrong. In the 1990s, a Canadian psychologist named Ronald Melzack interviewed a group of people born without arms or legs. Not amputees. Congenital. They had never possessed the limbs in the first place. There was nothing to remember. About 20% of them reported phantom limbs. Children as young as 4 would describe, gesturing with arms they had never had. One woman, missing both legs from birth, described a phantom foot that ached when the weather changed. She had never had a foot. She had never felt cold on a sole. And yet, there was, in her brain, complete with a sensation of pressure when she imagined standing. Melzack proposed something radical. The body map isn't built from experience. It's built into us, wired in before birth. We come preloaded with a template of a complete human body. 4 limbs, 10 fingers, 10 toes, whether or not the body actually grows that way. Your skeleton may be missing pieces. Your brain isn't. For most amputees, the phantom isn't just a curiosity. It's a torture. About 60 to 80% of them experience phantom pain, burning, crushing, or, the worst version, a phantom limb frozen in an impossible clench. Veterans describe a fist they cannot unclench. The fingernails dig into a palm that does not exist. Painkillers don't touch it. In 1995, Ramachandran published a now-famous paper in the journal Nature. He had built a device out of a cardboard box and a flat mirror, sold at any drugstore for under $10. He called it the mirror box. A patient would place his intact arm into one side of the box and the stump into the other. The mirror reflected the intact arm, so it looked like both arms were there. Then Ramachandran would say, "Move your hands." Both of them. Slowly. The patient would watch. His brain would see 2 arms moving. And for the first time in years, the phantom hand would unclench. In one trial of 10 patients, 6 reported permanent reduction in phantom pain. One man, who had been clenching for over a decade, wept. The cure had cost $5 and a piece of glass. And just when you think we've figured it out, the phantoms get weirder. There's a phenomenon called telescoping. Over months or years after amputation, the phantom doesn't fade in and out. It shrinks. The arm gets shorter. The hand pulls in toward the shoulder. Eventually, for some patients, the phantom hand is dangling directly out of the stump. No arm at all, like a hand attached to a shoulder. Patients can wiggle the fingers, but the wrist is glued to the bone of what's left. Then there are referred sensations from places they shouldn't come from. One of Ramachandran's patients felt vivid sensations in his missing foot whenever a totally unrelated region of his body was touched. Because, and stay with me, on the cortical homunculus, the foot sits right next to a region of the body it has no business neighboring. After the amputation, the wires had crossed. He wasn't imagining it. The map had rewired itself in a way evolution never planned for. Phantoms can also remember injuries. A man who lost a hand that had a splinter in it for weeks before amputation reported the phantom hand still had the splinter in the same exact spot. The hand was ash. The pain was permanent. Right now, this is changing medicine. In a lab at the University of Pittsburgh in 2014, a paralyzed man named Nathan Copeland had 4 tiny electrode arrays implanted into his motor cortex. He thought about moving his fingers. A robotic hand, 3 feet away, moved them. When researchers touched the robotic fingertips, Nathan felt it in his own paralyzed hand. This works because of what Tom and Lord Nelson taught us. The body map is in the brain. Lose the body, the map remains. Build a new body, a prosthetic, a robotic limb, and you can plug it into the same map. The brain doesn't care if the hand is flesh or titanium. It cares about the signal. Researchers at DARPA, Johns Hopkins, and the University of Chicago are now building prosthetics that don't just move on command. They feel pressure, texture, temperature. They route the signals back into the cortex, into the same neighborhoods the original hand used to occupy. Right now, in your skull, you have a map of a body that is mostly correct. Your fingers are exactly where the map says they are. But the map exists with or without them. Most of you will never know that. A few of you will. It's not the body that's haunted. 2 centuries ago, on the deck of a British warship, Lord Nelson said his phantom fingers were proof of the soul. He was wrong about the cause, but he wasn't wrong about the experience. There is something inside us that exists in the shape of a body, a complete, 10-fingered, 2-legged ghost, and that ghost was there before our limbs grew, and it stays there after they're gone. It's not a soul. It's a map. Carved into the folds of your cortex right now is a phantom version of you, sensitive in the lips and fingers, indifferent to the back, preloaded with limbs you have, and limbs you don't. The body is temporary. The map is older. Nelson called it proof of something beyond the flesh. He was almost right. It is beyond the flesh. It's just 2 centimeters above it. Next week, we're going inside another impossible map. The one your inner ear builds every second to tell you which way is up. Astronauts lose it. Divers lose it. And in 1961, on the first manned orbital flight, a Soviet pilot named Yuri Gagarin felt the entire sensation of down simply dissolve. What he reported afterward changed how we understand consciousness. Subscribe. You don't want to miss this one. Thanks for watching. If this sparked a question, drop it in the comments. It might be our next video. We'll see you next time.